There's a rule buried in the tax code that lets you crack open your 401k as early as 55. No 10% penalty, no waiting until 59 and a half, no hoops. It's completely legal, it's been out there for years, and most people will retire without ever knowing it exists. But here's the part that should make you nervous. The single most common piece of retirement advice you'll hear, the thing your buddy, your HR rep, even some financial advisors will tell you to do, quietly destroys this option forever. One wrong move and you hand the IRS thousands of dollars you never needed to pay. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how the rule of 55 works, who qualifies, and the traps that turn a penalty-free retirement into an expensive mistake. Stick around because trap number 2 is the one nobody warns you about. Let's start with the problem it solves. Normally, if you touch your 401k before age 59 and a half, you get hit with a double whammy. First, you pay regular income tax on whatever you pull out. That part never goes away. But on top of that, the IRS slaps on a 10% early withdrawal fee. Pure dead money. Gone just for the crime of being too young. Pull out 50 grand and that's $5,000 evaporating for no reason other than the calendar. That 59 and a half number is where most people plant their flag. They assume that's the earliest door. It's not. Here's the actual rule. The rule of 55 says this: if you leave your job, quit, get laid off, get fired, or retire in or after the calendar year you turn 55, you can take money out of that employer's 401k with zero penalty. You still pay income tax, but the 10% penalty just disappears. And read that timing carefully, because this is where people get tripped up. It's the calendar year you turn 55, not your actual birthday. So if you turn 55 in November, but you leave your job in March of that same year, you still qualify. You could technically be 54 years old on the day you walk out the door, and the rule still covers you as long as 55 lands somewhere in that calendar year. So the payoff is simple but huge. You might have a 4.5 year head start on your money that you never knew about. That's the difference between I have to grind until 60 and I can walk away at 55. Real quick, if that just rewired how you think about your retirement timeline, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe, because I break down these no BS money moves every week, the stuff the financial industry would honestly rather you didn't know. Drop the word 55 in the comments if you're planning an early exit. I read them all. Okay, now the trap that ruins everything. Here's where it gets dangerous. The number one thing people do when they leave a job is roll their old 401k into an IRA. And on paper, it makes total sense. More investment options, usually lower fees, everything in one tidy place. Advisors love recommending it. It's the default move. But watch what happens. The rule of 55 only applies to 401k and 403b plans. It does not apply to IRAs, not even a little. So the second you roll that 401k into an IRA, you've dragged your money out from under the umbrella that protected it. You just handed back your penalty-free access. Now, if you want that money before 59 and a half, you're right back to eating the full 10% penalty. The exact same thing the rule of 55 was going to save you from. Think about the sequence here, because it's brutal. You leave your job at 55, you've got this beautiful penalty-free window sitting right in front of you. Then somebody tells you, consolidate everything into an IRA, it's cleaner. You do it and poof, the window slams shut. You didn't lose the option because of a bad market or a mistake with your investments. You lost it because you followed the advice everyone gives. So the move is the opposite of what your instincts scream. If you're thinking about retiring early and you might need that money before 59 and a half, you leave it in the 401k. Don't roll it. Let it sit right where it is until you're past the age where the penalty applies. The messy account is the one keeping your money penalty free. This is the most people miss this of the whole video. The trap isn't hidden in fine print. It's hidden inside good sounding advice. But there's a second layer to this, and it catches people who think they've done everything right. The rule of 55 only applies to the 401k at the job you just left. It does not reach backward to cover old 401ks from previous employers. Picture this. You're 56, you've had 3 jobs in your career, so you've got 3 old 401ks floating around from companies you left years ago. You retire from your current job, and guess what? The rule of 55 only unlocks the plan from this employer, the one you just walked away from. Those 3 old accounts, still locked. Touch them, and you're paying the penalty. So the danger is assuming I'm over 55, all my 401ks are open now. They're not. Only the most recent one. But here's the clever part. The move that flips this in your favor. Many 401k plans let you roll money in from your old accounts. It's sometimes called a reverse rollover. So before you leave your current job, you can pull those old scattered 401ks into your current employer's plan. Now they're all sitting inside the one account that the rule of 55 will unlock when you leave. You've basically funneled all your retirement money into the account that gets the penalty-free treatment, while every other 401k out there would have stayed frozen. Do this before you separate, not after. Timing is everything with this rule. Now, let's clear up the biggest misconception, because I don't want anyone celebrating too early. The rule of 55 waives the penalty. It does not waive your taxes. Every dollar you pull out of a traditional 401k still counts as ordinary income for that year. And this is where people accidentally shoot themselves in the foot. They get excited about penalty-free access and they yank out a giant lump sum in a single year. Here's why that hurts. Say you pull 60, 70, 80 grand all at once. That entire pile stacks on top of any other income you have and can shove you up into a higher tax bracket. Suddenly, a chunk of your own retirement money is being taxed at a rate you never normally pay. You avoided the 10% penalty and then paid more than 10% extra in taxes because you weren't strategic. And it doesn't stop at income tax. Big withdrawals can ripple into other parts of your finances. They can bump up what you'll eventually pay for Medicare through something called IRMAA surcharges, or IRMAA, and they can make other income of yours less tax efficient. So the smart play is to think in slices, not one big scoop. Pull out only what you actually need each year. Ideally, work with a tax pro to map out how much you can withdraw while staying inside a lower bracket. The rule of 55 gives you the access, but you're the one who decides whether that access is cheap or expensive. Spread it out, stay deliberate, and you keep way more of your own money. Here's one that flies completely under the radar, and if it applies to you, it's a gift. For most people, the magic number is 55. But if you're a qualified public safety worker, think police, firefighters, EMTs, certain government and federal safety roles, the age drops all the way down to 50. 50. That's a full 5 years earlier than everyone else, and nearly 10 years before the standard 59 and a half door. And under the newer retirement rules, there's an even wider path for some of these workers. In certain cases, it can key off years of service rather than a hard age line, opening the door once you've put in a long enough career. So if you spent your life in one of these professions, you may have been sitting on an early retirement key this whole time and had no idea. The catch is the same as before. It still only applies to that employer's plan, and rolling it into an IRA still kills it. Same traps, just a 5-year earlier starting line. If this is you, this single rule might be worth more to you than to almost anyone else watching, so don't let it slip past. Now, what if you're watching this and thinking, great, but I'm 48, or I already rolled everything into an IRA years ago. Are you just out of luck? No, there's a backup door and it works at any age. It's called a 72T, or substantially equal periodic payments. Here's the deal. The IRS says commit to taking a fixed series of equal withdrawals calculated by their approved formulas based on your life expectancy, and they'll waive the 10% penalty even if you're nowhere near 55. And unlike the rule of 55, this one works with IRAs too. But, and this is a real but, it comes with handcuffs. Once you start, you generally have to keep those payments going for at least 5 years, or until you hit 59 and a half, whichever is longer. You can't just turn it off when you feel like it. And if you break the schedule early, take too much, take too little, mess up the math, the IRS can reach back and hit you with all those penalties you thought you avoided retroactively. So, 72T is powerful, but it's rigid. The rule of 55 is flexible. Take what you want when you want. The 72T is a fixed conveyor belt. If you're under 55 or you've already moved money to an IRA, it might be your best shot at penalty-free income early. So let's tie a bow on it. The rule of 55 lets you tap your current employer's 401k penalty-free the moment you leave a job in the calendar year you turn 55. 50 if you're in public safety. The taxes still apply, so withdraw in slices, not scoops. And whatever you do, don't roll that account into an IRA if you'll need the money early. That's the trap that quietly wipes out the entire benefit. Get those pieces right, and you might be looking at retiring 4, 5, even 10 years earlier than you thought, without donating a dime to the penalty. But here's the thing this rule doesn't solve. The rule of 55 gets your money out. It doesn't tell you whether you actually have enough to walk away, or how to bridge the gap between the day you quit and the day Social Security kicks in. Because a lot of people unlock this door, retire early, and then run out of runway at 62. That bridge is exactly what I break down in this next video right here. Watch that one before you hand in your notice. I'll see you over there.